Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. So yesterday at BlizzCon, the first full trailer for the Warcraft movie dropped. So once again, I'm going to dissect it. Let's see what's inside of it. This could go into spoiler regions, so do be aware of that. And also, for World of Warcraft fans that are watching this video, let's see if there are any Easter eggs for us as well. And spoilers, there are tons of them. So the opening shot is a rather beautiful panoramic view of some mountains and snow. And if you look very carefully there's actually a griffin flying that has a couple of passengers on it. I think this area is most likely Dun Morogh. It's establishing shot here and establishing some of the areas of Azeroth. But it's the destination that this griffin is off to that is very interesting indeed. Now, to me, this is one of two different places. It's either Karazhan or it's Dalaran. Now let's go into why it could be Dalaran first. Although there's the big tower which kind of really hints at Karazhan, if you just look to the right hand side, there's definitely a lot more buildings going on there. And if you look at the top of them, they have the dome effect that we get to see on the buildings in Dalaran today. So there's that big hint there. Also, if you look at the middle of the tower, this area here seems to be projecting some rather large beams of light. Now, is this the dome which surrounds and protects Dalaran? But that said, I'm actually going to take a punt and call this as Karazhan. And the reason why I'm going to call it as Karazhan is because there is another shot a little bit later in the trailer which kind of swayed my mind. But this is, I think, Karazhan, and this is home of Medivh. Another shot of the griffin coming in and the back of the head of a greyish haired gentleman. That could well be Medivh waiting for the griffin to land with its passengers, who actually turn out to be Anduin Lothar and a young Khadgar. So what I called as Khadgar in the teaser trailer, I actually think is Medivh now, and this is actually Khadgar, a much younger version for this movie, and yet to be turned into an old man by Medivh. A different shot now of Stormwind, still looking ridiculously impressive, and a much closer view of the cathedral, and then just over there to the right hand side we can see Stormwind Keep. But the cathedral area does look absolutely gorgeous. Interesting shot here. This chappie here is Khadgar. He's running up some stairs to this rather bizarre disc which seems to be floating to all intents and purposes in the sky. I do believe the area that they're in is Dalaran, and that's why I think the area that I saw before was Karazhan. And the gentleman in the background could be Medivh, or it could simply be the leader of the Kirin Tor or the leader of the mages. But I think that is Medivh in the background there. And maybe Khadgar is asking for help from the mages against the Orc invasion. Next we see an Alliance town under attack, lots of buildings on fire, lots of smoke rising. We can't determine exactly where this is as regards to geography. It might be a specific location from the World of Warcraft, or it might literally just be a town made up for the movie's purposes. But I think this is going to be the Fell Orcs attacking down here. Really important image here, and we're going deep into spoiler territory now. This, if you look carefully, you can just make out one of the Guardians which adorn the side of the Dark Portal. So this battle is happening there. And what's going on around Lothar is explosions, is fighting. So why has he stopped to tend to this soldier? We can probably tell by the gold trim on the armor. This isn't just any regular soldier. He's actually staring horrified at the dead body of King Lane. And it's not just the fact that his king's dead that he's got this horrific look on his face. He is staring directly at the dagger which is in his neck. And the reason why is he recognizes it as Garona's dagger. Garona has assassinated King Lane, and he has some really conflicting emotions going on inside of him right now. We then cut to an ambush where a bunch of Fell Orcs attack a patrol of Alliance soldiers. They seem to absolutely demolish them, tearing them apart, and yeah, poor little guy with that scared look on his face gets wrecked. Lothar comes along to investigate. Looks like we've got some CSI Stormwind going on here. And then King Lane asks people to find out what on earth is going on with these orcs. So this clearly takes place before the Dark Portal scene. We get our first look at Draenor here. Look at that horrible fell mist in the sky. Doesn't bode well. And we get our first look at the orc protagonists here. We got Durotan in the foreground, Orgrim Doomhammer behind him, and then just sticking her head over his shoulder is Durotan's wife, and that is Draka. They're the three main good guys for the orcs. Also, pretty sweet shot here of the Horde base as I think they're constructing the Dark Portal to escape from Draenor. And then the segment ends with this greenish fell explosion as I think we're seeing the planet torn asunder. A reverse shot now of that Westfall one that we saw in the teaser as we see Durotan and also Orgrim Doomhammer with a freaking massive Frostwolf. I'll give £10 to anyone that flicks that Frostwolf in the balls and then sees what happens. And then we get our first look at Green Jesus himself, or, as we're going to see a little bit later on in the trailer, Green Moses himself, Thrall, little baby Thrall being held in the palm of Durotan's hand. We then move to what seems to be some sort of council of war headed by King Lane at the front here, but my attention has been drawn to the left-hand side and these chaps and chapesses, some high elves. We get a little bit of another look at those, and then on the right-hand side, this little chappy here, we also see a dwarf. No gnomes as yet. We then have another absolutely glorious picture here of Stormwind, but this isn't the reason why I want to show this off. This is a little thing for World of Warcraft players. I think they give us a slight Easter egg here, because if I just look over here to the right hand side, you'll actually see where Elwyn Forest stops and Westfall begins, where one zone ends and another zone starts. I legitimately think that was purposely put in there for World of Warcraft players to see, and I absolutely loved it. And then we go to another very important shot of an orc, I think. Just look what's going on in the picture. We've got blue lightning. We've got a green orc with what looks like a skeleton mask on his face. There's also feathers and beads. Looks very shamanistic. Have you got it yet? I think this is Nazul. I think we get a little bit of a shot of Nazul maybe fighting against the Alliance at the Dark Portal. We then see Grona in a prison cell, so this is likely after the assassination of King Lane. A great shot of Durotan with the Dark Portal over his left shoulder, and he's talking to Orgrim Doomhammer, who looks amazing in that light. But it's this shot that has me very interested. Now, just to the untrained eye, it might just look like an Alliance fortress getting wrecked by the orcs, but on closer inspection, I think there's a little bit more to it. I mean, that building itself, the towers seem a little bit fatter than those of Stormwind. The top areas of the battlements seem a lot flatter than those of Stormwind, and then if we look to the right hand side of it, we see what appears to be a dam. I reckon this is Loch Modan, and I think this area is being attacked by the Fell Orcs, and then they're going to push their way over through to Dun Moreau, where we've seen quite a bit of footage with some orcs fighting in the snow. Here we see the construction of the Dark Portal in the background, but that looks like the Black Morass Dark Portal, not the Tanaan Jungle Dark Portal. So it's intriguing as to why it's being constructed if that's how they came into Azeroth. So again, some questions which need to be answered here. Cool image here of Durotan meeting up with Lothar, Grona, and King Lane. I think this is in the Searing Gorge. The shot where Durotan is approaching them, you definitely saw Black Rock Mountain in the distance behind him. And another image here of why I think the building at the beginning is actually Karazhan and not Dalaran, because this is Khadgar bursting up through the clouds on a griffin, and there in the distance is another floating city. That, I think, is Dalaran. We get our first look at Blackhand, and yes, he is picking up a horse and throwing it at an Alliance soldier. Oh my lord. But that paled into insignificance at this next scene, because we see Durotan revving up to punch somebody. On the right hand side, they've got skulls, they've got green skin, they're Gul'dan. We get our first look at a rather beefy looking Gul'dan, not as decrepit as his model in game, but wearing the same cool ass armour. Doesn't stop him though from getting a right hook to the face from Durotan. Some more footage of Garona, and if she's looking pretty human in this scene, that's because they've broken away from the lore here. In the game, Garona is half orc, half Draenei, but in the movie, she's half orc, half human. And she also seems to have a little bit of a love interest with Anduin Lothar. That's why I think he was pretty mortified at that scene in the Dark Portal. Now then, Durotan is having some fisticuffs with a green skin orc here, and the location seems to be where he had the meeting with King Lane, Lothar and Garona, so maybe they were ambushed during the midst of it. And if you're wondering, why are orcs fighting against orcs? Well, the most simplistic way that I can put it is the pureblood orcs, the brown-skinned orcs, are the good guys, and the fell-corrupted orcs, the green-skinned orcs, they're the bad guys. So there's kind of like three factions, in a sense, in this film. The Alliance, the fell orcs, and then the pureblood orcs. We get a closer look at Clancy Brown's Blackhand, and just look at those shoulders on him. Oh my god, I want them in-game right now. So this is why I made the green Moses jibe earlier. We see Draka being chased through a field with thralls strapped to her back. And then she gets to this riverbank where she places him in this wicker basket. She then plops him into the water and lets him drift downstream. Very reminiscent of the biblical story of Moses. But just coming into shot on the right hand side, we see another green-skinned orc, and when she turns around, she's got a look on her face that doesn't say let's get a Costa together, it says you want some, come get some. So he's clearly in pursuit of her. So does Draka's story end here, or does she manage to fight this guy off and give Thrall the time to get away? And more importantly, where does Thrall end up? Really cool shot of Durotan here and Orgrim Doomhammer. Durotan with his frost wolf headdress on. And then that leads into an amazing shot of a humongous amount of Alliance soldiers going head on with a huge army, or a huge horde, of green-skinned orcs colliding in battle. And then another clip that if you blink, you miss the goodies. This is Durotan, and he's peeling off his frost wolf headdress, and he's taking up all of the screen, looking big and imposing, and you could get distracted by it. But just before he does take it off, if we look in the background, we can see on the right hand side that that is Blackhand, but just in front of Durotan, and we can only tell this by the skulls protruding up, that is Gul'dan in front of him. So Blackhand is seemingly Gul'dan's bitch, and Gul'dan is the one running the show here. Durotan letting out an almighty scream. This may or may not be related to the Gul'dan fight that we see being set up. And then this shot I miscalled in the teaser trailer video. It is actually Lothar on the back of this griffin. But look here, how could I miss that originally? He's actually flying through, or the area around, the Dark Portal. The two guardians on either side of it. And then he swoops in and absolutely murks this orc on the right hand side, who, can I say, is wearing the worst headpiece I have ever seen on an orc. So there we go. So what do we know about the trailer now? Well, the protagonists seem to be very clearly laid out. Anduin Lothar is the big guy for the Alliance, and Durotan is the big guy for the orcs. I'm not going to say horde at the moment because that hasn't quite been established just yet. And then they have a supporting cast of Garona, King Lane, Orgrim Doomhammer, Draka as the extra protagonists, but there is still some mystery, intrigue. We've got the Khadgar stuff, the Medivh stuff, the Gul'dan stuff, the Blackhand stuff, and of course Garona as she's being controlled by Gul'dan as well. So lots to look forward to. Remember, this is going to break away from the lore slightly. Don't expect an exact faithful reconstruction, but I'm very, very intrigued to see this at the cinemas now. So let me know what you guys and gals think in the comment section down below. And I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.